Where am I? The Monco Radio Mothership. Where we beam our frequencies into your tiny human brains.
You're listening to Monco Radio, where music and mind meet.
It's meant to make you forget about your homework or the fact that you just got fired from your job or you and your girlfriend had a fight. It's a legal high. It's meant to take you away from the fact that after the concert you've got to go fight the parking lot traffic. For those 3 hours that you're in our concert, it's magic time.
You wanted the best and you got it! The hottest band in the land, Kiss!
Kiss Army, you wanted the best and you got it. I am Matt Porter and we are live in the Kiss Room. We're wrapping up the summer and we're time traveling back to the summer of 1976. Plug in your air guitar, jump into your spandex, put on more makeup and higher heels than your mom because you're in the Kiss Room on Monco Radio where music and minds meet. Kiss Army, look, I said get out your air guitar. If that didn't get you started, I don't know what I'm going to do with you. Now, look, it is live. It is Kiss Room Friday, and through the power of technology, I should have some guests. I also have in the studio Anthony Porter.
Happy Kiss Room Friday, everybody. Happy Kiss Room Friday.
And live via technology, we should have Bobby Getchell and Will Rossi. Guys, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes. Okay, now look, we're going to start things off in high gear. All gas, no brakes. Spirit of 76. You got a big event coming up. Let's talk about it.
Hey, Matt. How you guys doing over there?
You know, fantastic. If I was doing any better, I'd be twins. And the fact that my twin is here in the room with me, it really is fantastic. Now, look, this is funny because I saw you guys the first time as Dressed to Kill probably about 1988 or 89 at the New York Kiss Expo, right? That's only a couple thousand miles in the rearview mirror, right?
Yeah, that's for sure.
So now, look, what you were talking about, like Bobby sent me a message and said, look, we got this big event coming up called the Spirit of 76. So for anybody who doesn't know or who haven't seen the post, talk all about it.
The Spirit of 76 Expo is coming to you in about 3 weeks. It's going to be, well, something that's been in the Dress to Kill wish list for years, decades, because we've always wanted to bring to you a Destroyer show. And thankfully, about 5 years ago, the designer of the stage who worked for the Jules Fisher Company was Mr. Mark Ravitz. This architect was pioneering stages for not only Kiss, David Bowie, Queen, and he did the first Kiss stage with the spider web all the way up to the tank. And Mark Ravitz, the gentleman that he is, allowed us access to his studio. So the day was there to talk about that little model that it's about 1.5 feet wide. It's a mock-up of the little Destroyer stage, and that was the whole purpose of the visit. And just as we were walking, basically going home, he taps me on the shoulder and he goes, "Oh, Bobby, by the way," and I turn around and he's got a bunch of papers rolled up under his arm. And he's like, "Yeah, you might want to see this before you go." and I swear to God, I started shaking. As he hands it to me, my hands were trembling. And I said, "Is this what I think it is?" And he goes, "Have a look for yourself." And the way he did it was so smooth. This guy was really awesome. And he's like, "Yeah, this is the full set. You know, it's never been out there. A few pages have been posted for quite a while, but never the full set." And he goes, "You have at your nonprofit corporation," because at the time, Dress to Kill, thanks to our founder, Will Rossi, who's on the phone right now with us. Our founder was the brainstorm and the genius behind the entire band, actually, because it was Willie's idea to start the tribute band in the 70s. He couldn't find the right men, and then in the 80s, he met Guido. And then they picked me up, and then Ronnie was right next to me, and then we formed the band in the early 90s. So as it goes, And then after Will had the idea originally to start the first ever tribute band to Kiss in the 70s, Will Rossi then had the idea to start doing exclusive charity work, nonprofit work. So this is Will's brainstorm. And I explained to Mark Ravitz that we are a nonprofit. We had just gotten the nonprofit status from recognized by the IRS and everything. So at that point, we were brand new to it, and our first donation was the blueprints from the guy who designed the Kiss stage.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now, Will, that kind of brings us right to today is like, how did you get this started? I mean, starting with the band, but then obviously to the point where here we are in 2026, and you have this event coming up in September that looks to be fantastic. Talk about that.
Oh, you're talking to me.
Yeah, how about that? I'm putting you on the spot. Now, look,
Okay.
first I should say welcome to the Kiss Room because I think, I've never actually had you on the air. So this is your first time on the air with me.
Yeah, so we got the blueprints, and we just decided that, maybe we should just build the whole stage using the blueprints for the benefit that we were going to do. We already had our own destroyer set up and stage that we used, for about 5 or 6 years when we were performing. But, the staging that we built with the walls and the stairs were what we could see in photos that we had access to through fan magazines and sometimes photos we saw at KISS conventions. And of course, when we were able to look at videos like Anaheim and Houston 76, things like that were just out there floating around, Guido was able to replicate what he saw on the videos and the pictures. But we never actually saw a full-blown wide shot of the actual stage from the Destroyer tour. It just was never out there. And even the videos that were out there were kind of like dark when you saw the close-ups. Some of them were from the side, the cameras. The ones that were in the front were just usually maybe mostly on Paul and Gene and Ace with close-ups and full body shots. But there was never really a lot of videos or pictures of the full-size stage, what it looked like. And, of course, the only people who did see it were the people who went to that Destroyer tour in 76, which, but evidently a lot of those people didn't take pictures either, or if the pictures were out there, they were just really dark, with Polaroid cameras and things like that, disposable cameras that were available back then. But once we got the blueprints, that just opened up a whole other possibility. And we just said, well, look, now we see what else we're missing. So let's just add it all in. And that's where we're at now.
Which brings us to really what we're talking about. Anybody that's just tuning in, I'm talking to Will Rossi and Bobby Getchell, members of Dress to Kill. And obviously they have their event coming up is going to be September 12th. The Spirit of 76 Expo is going to be at the Williams Center in Rutherford, New Jersey. And you can go to spiritof76expo.com to get all the details. But really, when the thing is, the pictures that have started to come out with you and your team on the top of that, what looks exactly like the Destroyer stage. And you had just mentioned Guido. Anybody that doesn't know, Guido Basile, amazing artist. He's been on the Kiss Room before. That guy is so talented. And everybody out there that's listening has seen that poster where it looks like Kiss in their 70s costumes next to Kiss in their 80s costumes. That's a Guido original. And those of you that have seen it printed in a billion different places, now you know that. So now look.
The beauty of this expo, Matt, is that Guido is going to be there with prints available for purchase from the attendees, and you will get to, basically purchase and even commission future prints because Guido is available for paint anything. And when Dress to Kill was formed, our founder was Will Rossi, and then he joined with Guido. But Guido was the art department because back in those days there was no Kiss costumes you could purchase. So Guido was our art department. Ronnie Tarina was our music director. Will Rossi was simply the boss. We all listened to Will. Will ran the ship, and he ran it tight. Everybody was completely in check, and I was the choreographer of the band. So we each had our own assignments, and everybody had.
you're Paul Stanley, which comes with a lot of sit-ups, Bobby. So now really this event that's coming up, like talk about through the day, like what can people expect? They come in, it looks like really exciting, and it looks like a lot of stuff's happening, featuring Dress to Kill on that stage.
Matt, is Anthony there?
He is. He's sitting right next to
here.
me.
Yes, sir.
Matt and Anthony, we got something for you guys. Now check this out. Since the '76 tour was only 3 months, and they nicknamed Destroyer Times, that whole deal was 3 months long. It started July the 3rd, and it ended September the 12th, 1976. Now, what we have for you is it was a real uphill climb to get the September 12th date for 2026 at the legendary Williams Center in Rutherford, New Jersey, 5 minutes from Giant Stadium. But to secure that date was half of the battle. And we secured the date, which was the final night of the Destroyer show. 50 years later to the day, we're coming back to pick up where they left off, to the day. And we have something for you because not only is it a Kiss show, but I mean we're celebrating it 50 years ago in 1976. I remember it well. I mean, I was a child, and there was a big bite. For a moment, it was united with the flag, and everybody was bicentennial mania. And, my parents had the flag, and everybody's was dressing in red, white, and blue. So we're bringing that back for you, and the coolest way to celebrate 50 years ago. So this is not a Kiss Expo, even though everybody's begging for it. I said, no, it's going to be a 70s Expo. It's a Kiss Expo, of course, but I'm adding a whole layer of 70s. I need the 70s to be celebrated. So the Williams Center, it's over 100 years old. It's got a lot of history to it. It's the architecture inside, all the
in 1976, we didn't have Wi-Fi.
Can you hear us?
You keep dropping out. It's coming in and out, but you're good. You keep going. You got all the energy.
Okay, I'm going to restate that so that the listeners don't get confused on where I was.
We got you. The good thing is that we're going to celebrate 1970s, right? So there could be cosplaying of like Farrah Fawcett in her red bikini, maybe Linda Carter in her Wonder Woman costume. I don't know. What do you think? Go back. What do you think? Somebody's got to come as the Fonz, right?
All the cool stuff happened in the 70s.
What our mission is here is we're having a 1970s expo celebrating the decade of the 70s. This is, I mean, come on, it's the coolest decade that ever was. I mean, it's so much fun to even go back. So what we're trying to do is we're not only going to celebrate it, we're going to take you back with the Williams Center has 2 full-sized movie theaters. We are taking control of those movie theaters, and they are completely, with expo admission, free to the public. I mean, you might have to buy your popcorn and soda, but you don't have to pay for those movie theaters. And each movie that you're going to see, and I'm not even going to let you in on what it is, I want you to be surprised. I want the cereal box with the prize at the bottom to be that day. It's like the 70s. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I might give you one clue from one of the films, but we have 2 theaters from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and both theaters will be showing the top 70s classics, all the big ones.
That's fantastic.
Sweat it out. I'm going to make you wait, and I'm going to... But the top films from the 70s, whether it involved sports, fishing for great white tunas or, or other good stuff like
I wonder what that could
dancing the
be.
night away.
You know, we won't want you
Dancing
to
the night
give it
away
too
in
much of a clue, but my hair. I spent all day doing my hair, and he hits my hair.
and it hits my hand. What hooked up? I said what hooked up? So we're at this right now where we are going to blow you away with the movies alone. And not only are we going to give you the movies, but we're going to bring you to the 70s game shows. We're going to be playing, and you'll be there and you'll be in the audience, and you can sign up to participate to win prizes. You're going to be playing Jeopardy. You're going to be playing Name That Tune, and you're going to dance your ass off to the Soul Train Dance Contest. And each of these are going to be run during the day simultaneously with vendors. And the vendors are not just Kiss Expo vendors, but they are vendors which will be bringing you 70s trinkets, items, toys, records, collectibles, and anything that we can find from the 70s, and vendors can bring their best merch. Hopefully there'll be a few rotary phones for Matt and Anthony to buy.
There you go.
And not only that, but we're really going to try to assault you with some heavy-duty bands. The bands are going to be playing, at this point we have at least... I'd say about five hours of bands worth of music.
Wow.
We're going to be playing rock and roll. Mr. Scarlett himself will be playing. Now, you all know Scarlett. There's no introduction needed. This guy is a legend. There is no cooler guy like the real life Fonz.
Bobby, that you dropped out. You said Richie Scarlett's going to be there?
I said you are going to be treated to the emperor of rock and roll, who needs no introduction. Richie Scarlett himself will be playing.
That's fantastic.
You're also going to be getting a performance by After Forever. And these guys, oh my goodness, I've known this band for decades. They are the musicians. They can play like they will blow you away, where you'll be sweating through your shirts and shorts, ladies and gentlemen. They are that good. And then we have a real treat. The punk band 77 is coming to this show, and they're going to be playing all those punk songs from the CBGB's days of going to the city and the Bowery and checking out the 70s punk scene. They are masters of what they do. And not only that, you are going to be getting a real treat from an actual cultural icon of the 70s, Sir Felipe Rose.
What?
The 70s icon.
Of the Village People.
This disco legend, Felipe Rose, the original Native American from the Village People, who was with the Village People for 40 years, the original Village People, Native American. And Sir Felipe Rose will be getting, I'm trying to keep it a secret, but now that it's out, it's he's going to be getting a Lifetime Achievement Award from our expo for all of his legendary, his escapades. He's wild. He's still very much Felipe Rose. There is no stopping this man. He's incredible.
This sounds like a jam-packed day. It's unbelievable. Now, the main thing, like anybody that's just tuning in, like I said, I'm talking to Bobby Getchell and Will Rossi from Dress to Kill. That's how I know you guys. But it's the Spirit of 76 Expo coming up September 12th, 2026, Williams Center, Rutherford, New Jersey. Now, you heard Bobby talking about all that stuff. It sounds amazing. Now, Will, what do you think is the part you're looking forward to the most?
I'm actually looking forward to seeing people that I haven't seen in probably 25 or 30 years. As far as like the fans from when we used to play, you lose track of people after a while. So I'm looking forward to seeing some old friends there, and I'm looking forward to seeing the films that are going to be shown and some of the other memorabilia from the 70s. And I'm just going to enjoy listening to people's experiences and reminiscences about, what it was like to be a kid or a teenager in the 70s, or what people felt like when they saw a band like Dress to Kill when we were around. Um, yeah, sometimes the fan reminiscences and then remembrances are a real treat for me. Sometimes I hear things that I didn't even realize people picked up on, So, but I'm just looking forward to just going, and then I have a big curiosity myself of what it's going to be like. I'm still a fan, so I'm not anybody who's famous or anything from that point. So I'm just going to enjoy the experience for whatever it is.
That is the fun thing anymore. You go to these expos and you get to see people that you know kind of only from the internet, from their perfectly cropped selfie, image. That it is nice when you get to see everybody in real life. And this sounds like an amazing event from everything. Now, with all that in mind, you're building the Destroyer stage. So Dress to Kill will play.
I wanted to mention that, first of all, this experience doesn't end there. The Williams Center is a huge complex. If you haven't been, there's 3 levels, and there's stages everywhere, including downstairs. And at this point, we're working on getting, now this is more for the younger people, but we're getting more bands for the downstairs level, which is next to the movies. There's another place where grindcore bands play. And I've been at the Williams Center to see some of the grindcore bands, and the energy in these and the youth is fantastic, and all these grindcore understand it, but me and the Dress to Kill scene, and they're all huge fans, not of Kiss, but of Dress to Kill. I don't understand it, but all these young kids, they're all like Manhattan, Brooklyn, they all cannot wait to see the Kiss tribute show with Dress to Kill, because I know these guys personally, so we're working on getting some grindcore bands also to play. And at this time, we are a nonprofit. It was Will Rossi, our founder. It was his idea, and we are exclusive to benefit fundraisers. And this whole day, every bit of it is going to benefit the charity St. Jude's Children's Cancer Research Hospital.
That's great. That's outstanding. I mean, that's when you're doing all this and for a good cause. Wow, you can't beat that.
Now, I wanted to mention that there's going to be prizes given away. Local merchants are also sponsors, so you'll be able to win prizes that you can probably go out and spend right outside of the Williams Center. There's a beautiful cobblestone area, all eateries and businesses that'll walk up blocks and blocks worth of downtown Rutherford. Park Ave Rutherford is the new Hoboken. That's the buzz that's been going around. And I've been there at night, and it is such a happening place. And just the vibe that place has, the Williams Center itself. There's a record store. There's a coffee shop. There's a snack bar. There's an arcade. There's
good Wi-Fi.
Williams Center. Hey, Matt?
I keep losing you. We heard that we were going to have an arcade and the best vibe, and it's the new Hoboken, and we can't believe it. And I think I just disconnected you. Let me plug you back in because technology rules when it works. And there we go. Oh, I think I just lost you. Hey, wait, let me try it again because I think what just happened is I think I hung up my phone. Now look,
it's a day worth.
I hung up on myself. Now look, we're on the radio, but you can see on my phone, I can see they've got all the artwork behind them for this expo. That's even beautiful. It's got you figure everybody's celebrating USA 250, but that's 76. Now look, I see those boots. Now does that mean, Bobby, you will be getting on that stage as Paul Stanley for all these fans? I think it does.
I don't know. You're going to have to work for that, baby. You're going to have to see for yourself when you get there. We'll see the mood I'm in.
For anybody who's in the Montco Radio chat room right now, Britton says Bobby is the best Paul impersonator I've ever seen. So there's a little compliment to you on a Kiss Room Friday from Britton in the chat room on Montco Radio.
Yeah, if anybody's out there, if you're listening, people
all I can say is thank you for the kind words, but honestly, you have to understand something. what Will Rossi and Guido and Ronnie and I always said, we're just following the blueprint of what they did. And in this situation, literally following the blueprints of what they did.
That
So,
is awesome. But you might as well be great at it. It's nice to know somebody thinks you're the best. I love that.
I don't deserve any accolades. There's only one Paul Stanley, and tribute bands are all basically trying to do the same thing, which is pay homage to their heroes. And I am only following what he did and trying to interpret it as best that I can possibly do to bring that character, that Star Child, to life. But honestly, it's not really hard because that's a part of my personality. It was bred into me since I was a child, seeing Kiss, and the whole deal is, I guess, at those formative ages, you don't have, in the 70s, you didn't have YouTube, you didn't have video cassettes. You saw Kiss in a magazine, you'd read through the pages, and your imagination would paint the picture. You saw a picture of a guy jumping in the air, you saw a picture of a guy going nuts with his head and sweaty and blood, and you didn't really know what he was doing, but your imagination filled in all the gaps. So I've always said that those original Dress to Kill is of the original 6 ever tribute bands that existed from the 80s and late 80s and 90s. And thanks to Will Rossi's idea and him meeting Guido to culminate Guido's same idea, it brought to life one of the 6 ever original pioneers to the tribute world, which was Dress to Kill. And to see that we still have a place to play and a stage to play on is quite the honor. And I bow my, I don't wear a hat, but it would mess my curls. But I'll tip my hat at some point to say, thank you for allowing us to even do anything for you. But we want you to feel the 70s come to life throughout the day, throughout those excellent movies we're going to be showing. There is one movie that didn't take place in the 70s, but it was filmed decades later, but it's about the year 1976, and that's all I'm going to give you. You can fill in the blanks for yourself, but I don't think you'll be too confused.
Now, look, with that in mind, if anybody's out there listening that's in the live chat, if you go to montcoradio.com, click on the listen page. We do have a live chat. If you have questions, I am speaking with Bobby Getchell and Will Rossi about the Spirit of 76 Expo that's going to happen on September 12th, so less than a month away, at the Williams Center in Rutherford, New Jersey. You can go to spiritof76expo.com for all the info. But if you have questions for these guys, so far they have hit you with a kitchen sink worth of cool, images and things to think about, and the Destroyer stage, and the passion for being a Kiss fan, but also everybody of a certain age that grew up in the 70s. I can already feel it. Like when the stuff that you're describing, the kind of things that as a kid, like think 1976, I'm looking at my brother thinking we were about 8 years old. And that's that summer when we really discovered Kiss. Our neighbor, Lenny Deal, had Kiss blasting out the window. And what is that? And that's Kiss. And he's a couple years older. And he had, the earlier albums. And that's how we really got turned on. Summer of 76. It's incredible.
I wanted to mention, Matt, that I am honored, and you are honored to be talking to Mr. Will Rossi, because I'm going to say this. I was what you would call a second-generation Kiss fan, meaning we've kind of over the years broken it down into the teenagers who first discovered Kiss in the 70s from the first album are very rare. But there was a lot of children who discovered Kiss as little kids, maybe by Love Gun Alive 2, 77, 78. The children and the toys made the children fans. But to have a first-generation fan like Will Rossi, he's got stories. And I'm going to just ask you if you would see if we can get Will to tell you some of his early experiences at these Kiss concerts, seeing what he's told me. The only reason I'm as dedicated to preserving that version of the Kiss lineup and the way they were was because of Will's stories to me over the decades of what he felt as a concert goer watching Kiss. And then I do not want this to be interrupted because Willie has some stories of Kiss props, Kiss experiences that no one's had, including some circles of rumors about the location of Kiss props, and Will, he has so many stories, and no one can tell a story like Will. He is absolutely, always was our founder and leader. So I don't even want to speak another word because you need to soak this up like a piece of bread in a stew gravy.
Now look, Will, with that kind of intro, we're
come
putting
on,
the microphone is open to you, and now I want some gravy and some bread maybe too. But the you gotta lay us on some good stories because Bobby just built you up like a fight promoter.
Yeah. Well, I'm older than everybody else. And when I was a teenager, the biggest bands around were Led Zeppelin, Grand Funk Railroad, Rolling Stones, Beatles. And, in that era of around 1974, I was heavily into Alice Cooper. And I used to always say, boy, it'd be great if there was 4 Alice Coopers in one band, like there's the Beatles. It would be great if there was 4 Alice Coopers. And, one day I was walking through a mall with my brother and his friends. They were actually going to get fitted for prom tuxedos. I was just along for the ride. And I saw the first Kiss album in the display of a record store. And my very first reaction was, oh, look, there it is, 4 Alice Coopers in one band. And I just went in and bought it unheard. I just bought it because of the cover. I figured if it looks like this, it's got to be good. But I expected an Alice Cooper record, something in the vein of Welcome to My Nightmare or Muscle of Love or something. And I was kind of pleasantly surprised that it turned out the way it was. And I really enjoyed it. But I never got to actually, you never saw them on TV. And if they were on TV,
tell them about. I just want to remind you of that one story where you had the resistance of your friends, and then your trip to Wildwood and what happened there. So okay. I don't want to interrupt. I just want to remind you that that's one of the classic stories.
Okay, so I had an 8-track player in my car, and I used to play Kiss all the time. But my friends, they were all into Led Zeppelin and whatever else was on the radio at that time. And anytime I had Kiss on, they were digging it. But then when they would ask, well, who's this? And I'd say it's Kiss, and they would just, it's that those guys that you like with the makeup. Oh, they suck. You know what I mean? But they were enjoying the music until they heard who it was. So they were very resistant to it, and I was like, in my area, I was the only guy who liked Kiss that I knew of, and so we graduated high school in June. And we went down on the boardwalk and we went to Wildwood. And while we were in Wildwood, we started seeing flyers and advertisements for Kiss at Wildwood Convention Center. And I immediately told my friends, oh, we got to go to this. It's, it was like the next night. And we were just, they were so resistant to it. And the only way I could get them to go with me was I had to mention, well, look, there's going to be chicks there. There's going to be girls. It's a concert. I mean, let's go. Will. They were like, that band sucks. We don't want to see them. I'm like, well, I said, I'm going. They tagged along for the ride. Basically, they went along with it just because it was, okay, we'll meet some girls. But I can tell you that after the show,
hey, Will. Hold up, Will. Can you hear me?
Wait, Bobby, what about
what happened with the people passing out the flyers? Remember you told me they did that whole part of it. You forgot.
Yeah, I don't want to go into that.
Why not?
I don't want to go into that.
Can I tell it?
I don't want to go into that. I just rather jump to the show.
You're not going to tell them that it was who passing out the flyers?
I don't remember which members it was that was passing out the flyers. I don't remember.
Well, it was Kiss.
Wow.
So I don't remember because, it was how long ago? 50 years ago?
Well, all right. How I heard the story was,
and at the time they were not anybody really famous, and my friends thought they were from the haunted house because there was a haunted house on the boardwalk.
Some daytime
And
ghouls.
my friends were like, "Oh, look at these guys! Look at that guy from the haunted house." And I looked and I said, "That's not anyone from a haunted house. That's somebody from Kiss."
Wow.
And I still to this day cannot. I don't remember which number it was because it just didn't stick with me. Because, like I said, they weren't that famous at that point. The mainstream of America never heard of Kiss. I thought I was the only guy who knew who they were in New Jersey.
Wow.
But that was the first clue that I realized that they were playing there, and it wasn't advertised heavily on the radio or anything. It was just I guess if you were a fan or something and you had access to it, or you happened to be at convention hall and you saw signs and posters for upcoming concerts, you would have saw it, but nobody played there like Rolling Stones or Led Zeppelin or Bowie or any of those bands back then. Convention hall was it was a large convention hall, but it was just for, up and coming bands and other kinds of shows like ice skating and circuses and things like that. So anyway, we went to the show, and I remember we left, and my friends were complete converts after the show.
Right.
It was the first time they had ever seen a show like that. When we went to shows at the Spectrum in Philly, we saw bands that, who had a lead singer like Mick Jagger, or, if you happened to go to a show at the Tower Theater, or if you did see Led Zeppelin or bands like Slade or Black Sabbath, there was really no theatrical presentation. The only person that did something like that, Alice Cooper. So, for somebody to see something like that, where one guy's guitar is smoking and the other guy's spitting blood and breathing fire, and the front man is just running around the stage like the most energetic, 3 times as energetic as Mick Jagger. For most of the people that were there who didn't know about Kiss, they probably increased their record sales immediately after any show that they did.
So now you're
sure
talking that shows the July episode, or the July show that was recorded for Kiss Alive, right? Is that what you're talking? You're talking 76.
That's the exact show that was on
that at all until when I became more familiar with the conventions and things like that, and you start to find out more information. And I found out that some of the songs that were on Alive were actually recorded at Wildwood,
which just came out in the box set. They just put that out. It's incredible when you hear it. And exactly like what you're talking about, the energy on those tracks is off the charts. I mean, that's Kiss at their most fierce. And that's what became Kiss Alive. And that's amazing that you got to see that. And like you said, I'm absolutely sure that people, when they walked in, they saw that live show, they would leave. How could you not be a fan? Think about the energy of Kiss at that time. I mean, that's what you're going to bring to the Spirit of 76 Expo. And like I said, if you're just tuning in, I am talking to Will Rossi and Bobby Getchell from Dress to Kill, but also they have the Spirit of 76 Expo coming on September 12th, 2026, Williams Center, Rutherford, New Jersey. You can go to spiritof76expo.com for info. So you were seeing them really at the height, like they're really becoming Kiss.
I saw them before America did. They were exposed on some shows like In Concert and things like that, but I wasn't home to watch that on TV. I was at high school dances or something at that time of night, So the only time I actually got to see them is when I went to a concert. And they didn't come around that often. They came to Philly 2 times. They played at the Civic Center, and they played at the Tower Theater and Wildwood. They never hit the Spectrum in Philly till they became really popular in 76. And by then, all of America knew who they were just from the Paul Lynde show. And if they saw them on TV, for In Concert, or Don Kirshner. But, for the most part, most of the people who went to a KISS show had no clue what they were about to witness. But when they left, they were complete converts. It's just, I had other instances where I had, we went to a Halloween party at Pulsations. Do you know where Pulsations is?
Absolutely, right.
Do you know where that is?
Somewhere in New Jersey.
Oh, it's out in Pennsylvania. It's in a place called Glenn's Mills. Glen Mills, Pennsylvania. It's out on Route 1 in Glen Mills. And it was a big nightclub. It was a dance club. It wasn't a rock and roll club. It was popular around 84, 85 till about 1990. And I used to go there because it was a dance club. And we found out, by that time I knew Guido and the rest of the guys. And, we said, let's go to this Halloween party. We'll just wear our costumes. And so we did. We went to Pulsations. We went in our costumes. And while we were there, later on in the night, like probably around midnight or so, they had a big stage, but there was no bands performing there. And the stage curtain was down. And so there was people dancing on a stage, sort of like one of those dance shows used to be, like Dancing on Air, So I was up on the stage dancing with this girl I met. And the curtain kind of like went up, and I looked behind me, and I saw that there was a stage that I didn't even realize there was a stage there. And the curtain went up, and there was a stage. And I looked at what was on the stage, and the Love Gun Cats were on the stage along with the Lighted Stairs from the Love Gun tour. Now this is in 1985. And I'm just looking at it, and I just can't believe what I'm looking at. I'm like, those are the Cats from the Love Gun tour, and those are the Stairs from the Love Gun tour. And I had nobody to share the moment with, because nobody there knew what it was. They just thought they were Halloween props, I guess. Like the people who were in the club, nobody there was in the KISS. They just thought they were more Halloween props, because there was Halloween props all around the nightclub, And I was flabbergasted, and I immediately ran to try to find Guido, and I did find him. I'm like, look at that. Do you see what we're looking at? He's like, yeah, I know what they are. Those are the Stairs, and those are the Cats. I'm like, yeah. I said, and there's nobody here but me or you who knows what they are.
Wow.
And then when we were leaving to go home, when the club was closing down, there was a separate entrance and a separate exit. And it was sort of like a red velvet rope separating people going in and people coming out. And so you had to go through this other hallway to leave the complex. And on the exit, the Serpent was there from Love Gun Tour.
Check your inbox, Matt. I just used to do that.
Again, nobody there was taking pictures with it. Nobody, of course, there wasn't cell phones with cameras or anything back then, but people had disposable cameras and stuff. They would take them with them to a Halloween party, But there was nobody like waiting in line to take a picture with the Serpent. Nobody knew what it was except me and Guido knew what it was.
Woo!
And Guido took a picture with it. I guess I took the picture with it, or somebody with us took a picture.
But can you hear me?
I took a photo with the Serpent. And,
take a look in your inbox. The photo's in your inbox. I just sent it.
Post it on the KISS Room Facebook.
I remember reading that night and just saying to ourselves, the highlight of the whole evening. I mean, we didn't win the costume contest. It was a little bit of a disappointment, because we really thought we would. I mean, we looked like KISS, but we really thought that we were going to win, but we didn't. A group of people won who looked like the Munsters, and they did. They looked really good, like the TV show. But the highlight of the evening for me made me forget all about not winning the contest or anything. the highlight of the evening for me was seeing the Love Gun stairs, the cats, and the serpent. And we couldn't stop talking about it for the longest time, for months. We just raved about it. And then later on life, when we started performing as Dress to Kill, we met, we were playing clubs, and then Kiss had the reunion tour. And as part of the promotion for the reunion tour at the Philadelphia Spectrum, Electric Factory Concerts was the promoter for the tour. And as part of the contract rider that Kiss had with promoters was they had to appear in Kiss costumes. So Larry Magid and the rest of the guys at Electric Factory Concerts got in touch with us to lend them our costumes so that they could take a photo with the costumes and satisfy the contract rider. So,
wow.
And then, of course, as that progressed along, Don Bernstein, who was the program director of WYSP at the time, came up with the idea that to promote the show, they were going to work with Great Adventure, Six Flags Great Adventure, and they were going to put on a concert, like a Kiss promo type of thing. And they wanted to have a Kiss band. And they found us. And they contacted us, and we ended up playing at Great Adventure as part of the promotion for the Philadelphia
Fright
show.
Fest, for the residency at Fright Fest.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and of course, during that, so we had to, Great Adventure's huge. They've got a huge stage, but they wouldn't allow us to perform on the stage that most of the bands perform there. Like, they'd have bands like Winger or Joe Perry Project or other bands that came through, Ted Nugent, who would play Great Adventure, Six Flags. But they had a rule that you couldn't have pyro on it. And we wouldn't perform without our pyro. So we had to convince them to let us assemble our own stage in a separate part of the park. And they agreed with it. They said, okay, if you want to do that, you can use your pyro, but we'll have to coordinate with the fire commissioner in Burlington County, and but we'll allow it. And then, of course, the stage was going to be so big that our lighting group that we had and our sound group we were going to have to expand it so much, because now we're outside. And so we got in touch with McManus Lighting. So if you're not familiar with what McManus is the company that was the sound and lights for the Love Gun tour.
Joe Gannon from McManus. Joe Gannon was also the guy who worked the if you look at the Alive 2 light truss on the gatefold, or the picture where you see more of the that gatefold picture where you see the full light truss, that exact light truss was in Zaire, Africa in 1974 on the Rumble in the Jungle concert before the Ali Foreman fight. Wow. And Joe Gannon was filmed with that exact light truss in Africa at a 3-day music festival that would be before the Ali Foreman Rumble in the Jungle. And they had James Brown, the Spinners, Gladys Knight, the Pointer Sisters. They had B.B. King. They had, basically any 70s R&B. I mean, with James Brown there, you can't get any better. And McManus and all that light truss that was at the Rumble in the Jungle concert in Zaire, Africa, was the same one that was in the Alive 2 gatefolds, because Joe Gannon was working with McManus.
That's incredible. Now, look.
Back to McManus. I'm sorry.
Here's the funny thing. We're headed to the top of the hour. We got to wrap it up. So I really appreciate you guys calling in. Before I let you go, hype it up
Matt,
again. The
you
event.
got to hear the rest of the story. You got to hear the rest of Willie's story.
I thought that was the story. Was the most famous lighting truss on the planet.
He says he's gonna buckle up.
Look, we got.
Can you tell
give me the rest of the story.
Okay, so McManus Lighting ended up offering us the Love Gun 2 stage because they had it. So that stage I saw at Pulsations was given to Pulsations, and McManus Lighting was storing it at that stage at Pulsations. That's why they had the cats and the stairs. It was all at Pulsations. That's why they had the Serpent, because that's when the tour was over. Kiss didn't take the stage. McManus was kind of stuck with it, and they stored it at Pulsations. So that's why I saw all that stuff at Pulsations. But here's the funny part. When we started to get to prepare to do our show at Great Adventure, McManus offered us that stage to use for our show at Great Adventure.
Wow.
But we were in destroyer costumes. So it's not going to work, and I was such a stickler about it. And I'm just like, look, we've got our own props. We can make that stage look like Destroyer. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. But, but they were very cool about it. But they were saying, they were like boasting about it. They were like, we have the Love Gun stage, and, we'll let you use it if you want. And I was just like completely blown away. But I knew what they were talking about because I had seen it at Pulsations, like 5 years before. But it was just funny, and there's all these connections, and between us and Kiss and people they knew and experiences we had, and there's not enough time to go into anything more. But if you see me at the show or anything, you could come up to me and ask me, and I'll tell you some more things.
And we got to have you back on the show here. That's fantastic.
With interactions with the band and people.
So Willie has a million stories, and they're just as fascinating. I mean, him talking about seeing Kiss and what he felt watching them when he saw them at the Capitol Theater. I mean, he's got so many stories from each tour. Well, because Willie was sober and stone cold sober watching these shows, so his recollection is vivid.
Well, look, here's the thing. I'm going to wrap it up, and I'm talking right now to Will Rossi and Bobby Getchell from Dress to Kill. We've been talking about the Spirit of 76 Expo and all their stories. Give us one last pitch for everybody in the Kiss Army that's listening to come out on September 12th for your event.
We need you to know that you have one night only. Put it on your calendars. You have 3.5 weeks to wait. You will see it only once. One night only. You will not want to miss this. You will see, as close as we can possibly get to bringing to life the Spirit of 76 Kiss show, and we're trying to give it everything we can to bring you back to the decade it came from, the 70s.
And let me just add that, remember, this is for the St. Jude's Cancer Research and Benefit for the kids with cancer at St. Jude's. And this is the reason why we're doing this, is to benefit that charity.
Outstanding. Guys, thanks a million. We're going to talk again soon. I'm going to take us into the top of the hour. You're listening to Monco Radio, where music and minds meet.
Oh, yeah.
Bobby Getchell, Will Rossi, Dress to Kill. Now, look, if you just listened to that for an hour, you know by now you're going to put this date on your calendar, September 12th, 2026. They are going to have this Spirit of 76 Expo. Sounds amazing, doesn't it?
Sounds amazing. Yeah, it sounds like a really fun day. And for anybody who likes all things 70s, the TV and the movies, it sounds like a really fun day.
Sounds like a fantastic day. And with that in mind, we're going to go into the top of the hour. People, if you're not already in the live chat room, go to moncoradio.com, click on the listen page. You can scroll down and put your voice in the chat room.